Very. And welcome to this very beautiful Wednesday evening. It is just 8 minutes past as we're getting ready to to roll out again this evening. I welcome each and every one of you that have joined us, and I say good evening and welcome to the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. My name is Olayomi Koiki, and there's a lot to discuss tonight, and I want you to sit back and let us enjoy the program. Good evening to those of you that have joined us, and welcome once again to my producer, Mr. Frank, and Archie, and the rest of the team that are working around the clock so that we can come live to you every Wednesday. I think I need to start with my first, track again this morning, or rather this evening. Did I say this morning? Bear with me there. Good evening and welcome to every single one of you that have joined us tonight. Tonight is it's going to be fantastic, and I want you to sit back. Let me drive you home. Those of you that have joined us so far, I say good evening to my producer, and I hope all the sounds are working. If you can hear me loud and clear, please let us know so that we do not start the program. And some of you might probably not be able to hear what I am saying. Good evening once again. My name is Olayomi Koiki. If you're watching us for the very first time, this program comes up every Wednesday evening between the 1800 hours up to what we called 8:30. So it's a 2.5 hours program. And what do? We talk about everything that has to do with Nigeria. If you're in Africa, I'm sure a lot of you know what is Nigeria, because Nigeria is in southwest part of Africa. Quite a lot of conversation when it comes to Nigeria. Nigeria should have been, the big brother, but it seems that Nigeria has not been that big brother. So a lot of expectation from so many Africans on why Nigeria has not performed well. I'll be telling you everything you need to know tonight. So I want you to sit back, and I will be taking you through the program beat by beat. I'll be telling you what you need to know. Good evening to you all the way in Abeokuta, Comrade Adil Shun, Agbeloba. I think next week we need to bring you again so that Liwa Bawa Soro, you can come and tell us how far you have done when it comes to the farming. Good evening to those of you that have joined us, and welcome. It's just 10 minutes past. Tonight again, it's all about the focus. What is going on in Nigeria? As many situations and many things is happening in Nigeria. So when you're on the platform, I'll be telling you mostly what really concern the Yoruba people, the Biafra people, the Arewa people, the indigenous people. First and foremost, I will always say, nobody can take away your right from you. So when we are here on the Star Radio UK, whether you are a member of the APC, the PDP, the Showore, okay, my audio is coming out very good. It does not matter. Everybody has a right. But most importantly is that I do not want Nigeria to continue. I would prefer us to have a better negotiating, a better arrangement to what is called Nigeria today. And what do I mean by that? I would prefer that we have a different kind of setting, because we couldn't get what we were given during the regional government. So that literally means that I would rather want us to have what we call an independent Yoruba country. An independent country that will probably work for me as what we have presently. Some of you might not want such, because it might not be your taste board. But that does not mean that those of us that want that, you should push us aside. And if the Scottish people are asking for the right to self-determination, I don't think it is too much for the Yorubas to ask for the same thing as well. And that is the reason why we are campaigning continuously for us to have our rights, so that we can decide whether we want to remain as Nigerians or we want to exit Nigeria. But before that is going to happen, a lot of things is happening presently in Nigeria today. Nigeria has got a new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We also have the vice president. We have, the country running. But it seems that a lot of Nigerians are not satisfied with the present administration. And why is that? The reason for that, I'll be telling you why. The reason is got to do because when the new administration came in, it came in that I will be bringing a better life for Nigerians. They had a manifesto, both the PDP and the APC. These manifesto then led to what we called a new government, and that government have now started since May 29. But many Nigerians are saying that this government, this particular administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu hasn't done exactly what many Nigerians want him to do. I remember listening to his first public address and telling Nigerians that I have inherited the bad debt from the previous administration, but I'm going to do what I think is in the interest of Nigeria. And that literally means that the president says we cannot continue with the subsidy because the subsidy is not working. But before we go into all that, if you're watching me for the first time, this program comes up every Wednesday. We would like to first appreciate many of you, our listeners from around the world, that are with us, making sure that whenever we are on air, you want to know what is going on in Nigeria, for those of you in Nigeria. And those of you outside Nigeria want the same thing as well. You want to be able to know that you are giving the right information. So tonight, I want you to sit back because there's a lot of conversation that I would like to discuss. But let me first appreciate the fashion designer of our time. They have been giving us what keeps us beautiful, handsome when it comes to the outfit. And I'm sure you've been wondering, where do I have this kind of outfit? You will want something like that. If you want to have the similar outfit that I'm putting on, you don't have to go too far. All you need to do is get in touch with the finest fashion designer of our time, Omitaf Culture. With Omitaf Culture, you can be rest assured of a bespoke tailoring ashwebi, custom made, owambe, for the children, kiddies wear, and they are also doing what they call fashion training. So you can reach out to them, and you can also have exactly this kind of material or something of your own taste board. So we would like to appreciate on behalf of the Naija Voices, the fashion designer of our time that says, we want to keep you going. We want to make sure that you're looking very cool every Wednesday. And this is the reason why we would like to say thank you so much for producing some of the outfit that we are putting on. If you'd like to get in touch with them, you can check them out on the Instagram on Omitaf Culture with the link that have been shared for those of you that are watching us on the platform. At about 8 p.m., I am getting information that Professor Banji Akintoye will be live with the Yoruba World Media. And that literally means that you all understand that every 7:30 we'll go straight and discuss the indigenous people. And that is a conversation that is sponsored by Ilana Omo Odudua. And at exactly 8 o'clock, when I pick up the signal from the Yoruba World Media, I will be transmitting straight from what they are going to be telling us from Professor Banji Akintoye. If otherwise, we will still pick the signal after the Star Radio conversation. I would like to appreciate all the team, both from the Star Radio and the Koiki media team that are working around the clock, because there's a lot of injustice that is going on in Nigeria. And I'll be telling you what you need to know when it comes to Kani Olong. There's going to be what we call a peaceful rally for injustice. He has been given a bail condition, but that bail condition is very, very stringent. That and all will be part of the conversation later on this evening. 27th day of September. That literally means that we are now coming towards the end of September, and by Sunday, many Nigerians around the world, I do not know how you are going to feel, whether you are going to be celebrating the independence of what is known as Nigeria, or you are just going to pass it on. I know that the government have said that they are going to be doing a very, very low-key event. And the reason for that is Nigeria is broke. And when I say Nigeria is broke, Nigeria is extremely broke. It doesn't have any money. So the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs as much money than looking for money to be wasteful. So that means that this particular first anniversary of the independence, the government will be doing a very, very low key. I would like to appreciate you all, and I will say good evening once again to many of you that have joined us from different parts of the globe. As I prepare us into the conversation, I want you to sit back, relax with me, and let us enjoy the program. What is the conversation tonight? The conversation tonight has got to do with the NLC. Who are the NLC and what do we understand by the NLC? Every country around the world have the labor union that protects workers from the state level to the federal. And the NLC is the replica of the Nigeria Labour Congress. And they have been going back and forth with the present administration, even up to the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But this time around, they are going to be doing what we call indefinite strike. I don't think I want to put my money on the NLC. I don't know about you. NLC, I believe, is no longer as the kind of NLC that I grew up to be able to know. At least I've been around now. I am 40 plus. I have known and heard about the Nigerian Labour Congress, how powerful they are. Are they going to turn things around and make sure that they can put this government and this administration under a good checkup? Because the Labour Congress is there and the TUC must be able to protect every Nigerian, especially the workers. Once again, all these will be the conversation, but I will first and say good evening and welcome. This is how we welcome you into the program as we prepare into the conversation. Let's go again into it.
Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK.
So this is Star Radio UK. You can make sure you can join us, follow us on Twitter on the Star Radio UK network. Once again, if you love the kind of outfit that I'm putting on, you're a diaspora, you want something like this, get in touch with Omitaf Culture Fashion Designer, or you can reach out to us and I'll be able to tell you more as well. Now, let's come back into the conversation. The first clip that we're going to listen to before I come back, let's listen to this again.
UK. This is Star Radio UK. In your car, at work, at home, on your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
We are online 24/7. You can download the apps of the Star Radio UK Tomorrow is more of the property hour, but tonight it's more of the Niger voices, and the conversation is Nigeria. Let me first take you to what the president said when he was coming into the, taking the affairs of what is called Nigeria. This was a President Olayomi Tinubu. Let's listen to him.
Has become an albatross.
No, sorry. This is the vice president speaking, but let me first play the one from the president himself.
Subsidy. Unfortunate. The budget that I glimpsed is more extreme of I want that no provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone. Subsidy can no longer justify an ever increasing cost and the wake of dry resources. We shall instead channel whatever support to form monetary policy. No house cleaning, thorough house cleaning is necessary. The Central Bank a unified exchange rate. This is directed from arbitrage to minimal investment and the plants and equipment. Jobs that are powered, that will power the real economy. Interest rate needs to fall down.
You've listened to that was the president Bola Ahmed Tinubu telling Nigerians, and more Nigerians were clapping. I mean, I don't know why they were clapping. I don't know what was actually funny about it. They were literally clapping. Once again at 7:30, it's going to be the discussion on the Yoruba Nation. I'll be telling you as many of what you need to know, where you can listen to the Yoruba Nation conversation from those of the, online radio that have been set up, the shortwave radio, and most importantly, the leader of the Yoruba Nation also will be having a conversation at exactly 8 p.m. and we're going to be joining that as well. But for now, let's now go back again and listen to the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as well on the subsidy. Okay, bear with us there. Once again, a very good evening and welcome to Star Radio UK. This is the Vice President on the subsidy. Let's listen to him as well.
For the past 40 to 50 years. And he took the bold step of removing the fuel subsidy. There will certainly free up resources that will come down to states for developmental initiatives. But it must be borne in mind that we should all be aware of the consequences of unveiling a masquerade. The oil scam cabal is a very, very powerful cabal that are dangerously loaded, and they will go out of their way to undermine this great initiative by Mr. President. I will urge our colleagues, our governors, to really rally around the President and see to it that we call off the bluff of all the machinations that will be unleashed on the polity in the coming weeks.
Okay, let's leave that. Again, the vice president spoke with the governors of the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, pleading with them, telling them to work with the current administration, and maybe they are going to work with the current administration. I don't know, but I've seen that some of them are trying to balance the situation. The question tonight is, what can the state governor do differently when it comes to bringing peace, when it comes to making sure that the NLC do not go ahead with the strike? Once again, the strike goes ahead 48 hours just after the independence. There will be a total shutdown. Let me first appreciate those of you that have joined us this evening. I would like to say good evening to you, Olukola Akinpelu Akindele. Very good evening to you and welcome. Otumba Boye Manyugbe, welcome on board. You said I say good evening to you and God bless you as well. Babawa Dennis Dayo Omitogun, good evening to you, sir, and welcome once again to those of you that have joined us. I would like to say good evening to Mr. Adeni Jimo, good evening to you. Prince Adebayo Shitu and Olarinde Emmanuel, good evening to you, and good evening to those of you that have joined us as well on the TikTok. Good evening to you, my brother D, Real Nom. Good evening to those of you, our mothers, our sisters, and I am your colleagues, I am your comrade. I say shout out to those of you, Brieffood, to my mom, good evening to my family. For those in African country, I'm sure you are familiar with, rally, protest, especially, I've been following the situation in Ghana, where it seems that Ghana economy is also not doing very well. I'm not sure why most of these African countries that are meant to be the backbone, Ghana got their independence before Nigeria. They have a lot of gold, they have cocoa, but it seems that something is not right. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that from a clip that I picked up, but I'll be telling you more about that. Now, at 6:30, let's go and now listen to the NLC president. For those that are in African countries, the NLC in Nigeria, known as the Nigeria Labour Congress, was founded in 1978. Yes, 1978. So the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC will be going on indefinite strike. The TUC stands for the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. It's a national trade union federation in Nigeria focusing on union representing. These two have now declared, the word declare is a very, very powerful word. They've actually declared that they will be going on indefinite strike. Nuruddin Ajani, a very good evening to you. Good evening to you, Comrade Plan B. Good evening to those of you that are with us tonight. And I say shout out to those of you from Benue State, all the way in Woolwich. I was able to buy again, plantain is becoming too expensive. It's costing me £2 to get 3 plantain. If Nigeria was working, I think we should have flooded this market of plantain, and I shouldn't be buying plantain for £2. That's about, with the exchange rate today, the exchange rate is 1,200 naira to a pound. That means I am buying 3 smaller, very, very small, 3 plantain for £2. 3, very, very small, not a big size. And that's about 2,400 naira. So you can tell that it's becoming very expensive. Araga_120, thank you so much for joining us, and the rest of you that are with me as well. Bear with us. If the Dizzy Man 123, good evening to you. We'll be telling you a little bit later on about what we know. Also, I'll be telling you more about the Biafra as well during the 7:30 when we're going to be discussing the indigenous people. Good evening to you, Uzomaka, Nicholas, and good evening to you, Adeni Akim, and the rest of you that have joined us. Now, let's go back and listen to the NLC chairman. They now have a new person of Ajero. Ajero is Joe Ajero is the current, current NLC chairman or president, not chairman. Let's listen to what he has to say in this particular conversation. Once again, my name is Olayomi Koiki. and I'll be taking you through, the program tonight. I'll welcome every one of you that have joined us, and I say good evening once again to my producer, Mr. Frank David and Mr. Archie. Let's listen to.
Let's get back to talking about the fuel subsidy issue, and I'm being joined by the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Akome Joe Ajero. Akome Ajero, it's good to have you join us on the news. You were at that meeting live yesterday, and we saw your submission after the meeting. Give us an overview of the position of Labour with regards to subsidy removal at this time.
Very much. Well, the position of Labour is clear. We are here to, just like other Nigerians, identify what is actually called subsidy. And Labour has called for the investigation of this reign of subsidy before now. Well, we can't gloss over this. For a long time, people have been saying there was a subsidy regime, and then all of a sudden it disappears. The preliminary report from the Farouk Committee, shows a lot of fraud that is associated with this so-called subsidy. And if you say you are removing subsidy, the petroleum product is being subsidized, the position of the NLC is that there must be an alternative. There must be an alternative. If we are not going to drink Coke, you have Fanta, you have. That's where we are, and you can't say that it is not the business of government to know how we fare. We can't be exposed to the market. We can't have crude here, and then we can't refine it. That's what is at the issue.
I want us to take note of that. We have enough crude oil. Good evening to you, Alex Mamo, my brother. Good evening to those of you, Ibrahim Akanji, and the rest of you from Cote d'Ivoire to Ghana to Benin Republic. Shout out to Oloye Dr. Sunday Adeyemo Igbowo, and good evening to those of you, and happy birthday to the Odadadike Nnamdi Kanu. His birthday was some few days ago. We'd like to say happy birthday to you. We're going to be telling you more about Nnamdi Kanu and what you need to know. We have enough crude oil. The crude oil is not the problem. We have vast amount of crude oil in Nigeria, but we can't refine it. That, for me, doesn't make sense. This has been going on since 1960. We have abundant crude oil. So Nigerians should not be struggling when it comes to, the petrol. Good evening to you, Madi Peace, and welcome, Mrs. Taiwo Kike, Rahim Abbas. Good evening to you. And as one of you joining us, you might want to tell somebody that we are live on the Niger Voices again. And this is the last Wednesday of the September as we go into the new week, when we might be coming next week with more of the latest. I think next week will probably, if everything is not resolved between the federal government and the NLC, that means next week we'll be going on a full strike. Good evening to you, Pastor Mo. Good evening, Mrs. Grace. Good evening to you, GR1. Good evening to all the organizations that are working tirelessly, all the freedom fighters that want the truth as well. The NLC is complaining that we have, is it 3 refineries in Nigeria? But the president have assured, like the former president assure you, the former president assure you until he left the government for 8 years, the refinery were dead. But this current administration is saying that the refinery in Port Harcourt will be up and running by December. Do I want to believe that? No. The politicians have sweet mouths. They will tell you everything that you need to know, but it is not going to come into realistic. So let's go back and continue to listen to the argument from the NLC president, Joe Ajero, telling the presenter from the clip that we are listening to that we can't have enough crude oil, yet we can't refine it. Buhari told a lot of lies, just as he had his own, much fault from even Lai Mohammed, the biggest liar of the time. Buhari told Nigerians that the Dangote refinery will be ready and he was going to inaugurate it. He actually did it, but Dangote refinery that the present administration and the previous administration were thinking that it's going to come into the upstream market is not likely to start full working because the refinery itself is not yet ready. But why should a private investor like Dangote have a refinery, and a country with a population of 200 million, a country with so much amount of wealth, some of those wealth have been stolen as far back as 1960. Yet, Nigeria do not have a full functioning refinery for the last 6 decades. Yet, Emefiele, who allows subsidy on the dollar for Dangote to have his refinery, yet Nigeria cannot afford to have a full functioning refinery. This does not make any sense in the argument. Let's go back and listen more to the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. From 48 hours after the 1st of October on Sunday, the NLC have now declared an indefinite strike. Will this happen? Nobody knows. Maybe this can be unplugged, but for now, the information is the NLC are going on the full strike in 48 hours after 1st of October.
If we adopt the
and I welcome my brother Clement. Shout out to you and welcome once again. Yes, you're quite right, to all the freedom fighter, from the Biafra to the Arewa to the Scottish people to the Welsh people to the Catalonia, to anyone that is out there that wants freedom. And freedom is not given to you just as a pinch of salt. You will have to do whatever it takes: diplomacy, negotiation, peace dialogue, and sometimes it could lead to other areas like war. Nobody pray for war in Nigeria, but if the federal government is thinking by buying more fighter or helicopter attack from countries around the world and taking that into the southeast to kill innocent Biafrans that are asking for the right, then we might see a full-blown civil war again in Nigeria. All that we'll be discussing at 7:30, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Stay with us on this platform, and this is again Star Radio UK.
Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK. In your car, at work, at home, on your smartphone.
So in your car, on your smartphone, yes, you're right, Madipis. Who can't hold them accountable for that? The question is the NLC right? I'm putting this to you all that are on the comment section. Do you think it is right for the NLC to go ahead with an indefinite strike? Would that make any changes? Would this force the government to bring back subsidy? What is your take on that? I'll be reading more of your comment. Once again, a very, very good evening to you. Are the politicians very, very truthful? Remember, politicians say something and they do something else.
The issue. If we adopt the IMF model of import parity, we continue to import. And if we continue to import, there will be unemployment. The economy will be down. And we continue to talk about subsidy. But if we adopt the OPEC policy of production, then there will be employment, there will be prosperity, there will be petroleum products here at affordable price. So we have to decide we want to adopt, not just one side thing that we must depend on importation. What the federal government has done now is to say everybody must depend on it.
And again, I've been listening to some of the committee that has been set up by Disney administration, and I'll be telling you, some of what they are saying when it comes to Nigeria import a total value of $35 billion worth of crude oil. Refined product rather, not crude oil. 35 billion. That is gulping more of the forex that we don't have. 35 billion is the value of what we are bringing back as a refined product. We have the crude oil, but we don't have the right refinery to help us to refine it. So that means the president is saying, look, we can't continue to pay for subsidy, but the argument of the NLC president is what we are listening to. So if you're watching me from different part of Africa and you're probably lost from the third of this coming month, which is just about a few more days, Nigerians will not be able to travel. The airport is going to be shut down. Economy is going to slow down. I know that a lot of Africans rely on the goods, even though we are not sending enough goods in trade by barter between us and African countries. It is only on a very, very small scale. But many African countries travel down to Nigeria, to Alaba market, to Enugu, to Aba market, to Kano, to Katsina, and do trade. All these will slow down, just as we have seen. And the report from the World Bank is telling us that the current crisis, it seems that many Nigerians have forgotten that we are still having, crisis between Nigeria and Niger. The border is closed. Whether now, even though the border is closed, I'm sure now it's going to open room for smuggling of goods and services, because the Nigerians need many of our products, and many Nigerians and the Nigerians and other African countries would have to smuggle the goods, because the road between Nigeria and Niger is closed because of the coup d'etat that took place, and the Nigerian government of the President Bola Tinubu as the chairman of ECOWAS wants a constitutional government to come back of Ahmed Bazoum, but that doesn't seem to be coming anytime soon. So the report last couple of weeks from the World Bank says 8 million more Nigerians would go into poverty because of the border. So imagine that we are already having a strained relationship with Niger, and Nigerians are now going to experience more. And the other African countries like Cameroon, the Togo, those African countries that do more trade with Nigeria, all this is going to slow down when the full indefinite strike goes ahead. Most of you that are going to be traveling, the airport will be shut down. So I hope that many of you will start planning ahead. If you're a diaspora, I will advise you to leave Nigeria right now, because you might not be able to travel from Muritala Mohammed Airport. You might not be able to travel from Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport. That is if the strike goes ahead. I remember my mom was caught up with one of the strike in 2012, and she couldn't return back to to England. So if you think that I am joking and I'm bluffing, well, if the strike cuts you up, in Nigeria, you will then have to travel to Benin Republic by road and then find your way out of Nigeria. That is if you have something doing outside. If you don't have anything doing, it might just be a long holiday for you. Once again, a very good evening and welcome to many of you. Natek Electrical says good evening to you. I don't have trust in the NLC. Keep the comment coming, and I'll be picking on those comments. For now, the international news are also picking on these. According to the Al Jazeera, some few hours ago, Nigeria Labour Union called for indefinite strike over cost of living. The unions have announced a strike to begin on the 3rd of October after President Bola Tinubu scrapped a decade-old subsidy on the fuel. All these is already on the international news as well, and I'm sure many of you that have businesses that are going on Nigeria, traveling from within African countries, the airport will be shut down. You will not be able to use the airport. Once again, a very good evening to you, Odunis Oluwaseyi. You say it is a generation misplacement of priority. You're quite right. It is also whether the NLC can hold on to that. Once again, a very good evening to you, Imperial, and welcome. Keep the comment coming, and let's go back again and listen more to the NLC President Joe Ajaro.
On production, and whatever you import at dollar rate, you sell it at that same rate here. When we don't collect our wages in dollar, so those are issues. That the position of labor is clear.
Let me follow up with asking you that funding subsidy has been the major challenge. And if we follow the PIA, we should exit subsidy regime. Refining, many will say Dangote refinery is now on stream. We expect Port Harcourt refinery to also get on stream. How long would we have to wait, continue to borrow to fund subsidy? That's just my question, that understanding that aspect. So which do we go, the chicken before the egg?
Why are we talking of PIB bill and removal of subsidy? Which law introduced subsidy in the first instance? Because we are overflogging this. So the issue of subsidy we are mentioning is a matter of incompetence and gross negligence on some established institutions, like the refineries. Now, if you neglect the refineries and you are not refining, and there is no petroleum product, and you decide to import, and you decide to add money to what the crude you are selling, no petroleum food exporting country talks about subsidy? Nobody. You can't harvest cassava in your house and you sell it and then buy gari and say you are subsidizing it. Even ordinary barter trade, I give you food, you give me finished product, is enough. And that was the most primitive economy anybody could practice. Now, if you are talking of all this PID bill and the implication and what the law says, it's annoying. A product that is available in this country, they can't refine, let them leave these young men in the Niger Delta. Let them stop calling them illegal refineries.
Okay, that is another argument there. Those that are doing the illegal refinery, you can hear the president of the Nigerian Labor Union, saying that, look, why call those that are doing small-scale bunkering? And bunkering has been going on in Nigeria for as long as I remember, a very long time. I mean, like I said, I'm now in my 40 plus. I've been hearing the word bunkering. And when you tell people what is bunkering, it is those that are trying, this is not the right way to put things together. Maybe this new administration have to talk to those that are doing that kind of business and bring them, because we need everything to be refined. We can't continue to live in denial. Nigerians must start asking questions, and that question might be the indefinite strike. Once again, a very good evening to you, Mr. Peter Pan. And you also went further to say that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was told the people in the zoo, why should they fight for freedom? Freedom is always better than the managed slavery. Madipi says Nigerian politicians have no way in our system to make one and all decide our fate. I say good evening to those of you that are with me and those of you that will be listening to us later on. Once again, this is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Every Wednesday we do this. We bring to you what is happening in Nigeria. We talk about the indigenous people. I, as an individual, for myself, for my family, I don't think I want to be part of what is called Nigeria anymore. We want our own right to self-determination, just as the Scottish people are asking for the same right, just as the Welsh people are doing the same thing. I want to be known as a Yoruba man, as a Yoruba person, as being called a Nigerian. But that process has to be done through different channels, through negotiation, through peace dialogue. And if all this fails, the question is, you might push individuals and groups of people to then do otherwise. Nobody wants anything more than peace. The United Nations wants you to have it in a peaceful way. But the question is, would this new administration dialogue with the Biafra, dialogue with the Yoruba people, or will it do the same thing as the other man did by trying to go hard on the Biafra? And I'm talking about the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. Let's go back and listen to the final part of the president of the Nigerian Labor Union, Joe Ajero. This was some few, this about 3 months ago. And you would think that this new administration would do everything to avert what we called the strike, the indefinite strike. Good evening to those of you that perform our duty by going to the United Nations, assembly outside to continue to advocate for a peaceful dissolution of Nigeria. And once again, the Yoruba nation is not yet a country, but we are doing everything to be a country. Do not be deceived by anyone that you have a country that has been declared. That has no meaning. You don't declare a country and then another country is still running and dictating. That is not a country declaration. Once again, a very good evening to those of you, and let's take the final part. And when I take the final part, then I'm going to tell you about Timaya, politician must pity us.
Produce for us, and be willing, if they like, let them regularize them. Be willing to subscribe to those ones and not to block us from any source. And then we have talked about Dangote refinery. Why are we not ashamed that an individual constructed a refinery?
That again for me is not good. How can an individual like Dangote, does Dangote has more money than Nigeria? What I don't understand is, do Dangote have more money than Nigeria? Dangote doesn't have to be richer than Nigeria. Is rich, we know that. But should Dangote be richer than Nigeria? I'm asking you. Good evening to you, Mr. Shegun Faremi. Good evening to those of you that have joined us and those that will be watching this later on as well. I'm putting the question to every one of you. Do you think that Dangote should be richer than Nigeria? Madi Peace went on to say Nigerians is not about level and class or proud. It's about existence as a people. Do you think that Dangote should be richer than Nigeria? I don't understand. And this is the argument. How can an individual put together a gigantic kind of refinery and Nigeria could not put that together? That for me does not make any sense as well. Let's go back again and listen to Joe Ajaro 3 months ago as Nigerians must not prepare. I will advise you. I know most of Nigerians do not have enough income. But to be on the safe side, we have told you, start doing okwetile, small farming around your environment. Even if it's just the little that you and your family can consume. If you have enough money, I would advise you to stock up some kind of grains. Because if you do not put the grains and put them away, you are likely to get caught up from next week, Wednesday. Once again, this is Star Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. And I'll say good evening once again to my producer, Mr. Frank David, and good evening once again to Archie Amon.
Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK. At home, on your smartphone. In your car, at home, on your smartphone.
You can listen to us in your car. You can listen to us as well on your smartphone. Make sure you follow us every Wednesday on Niger Voices. But every Monday to Friday, you can join me with the team on the morning show at exactly 11 o'clock when we discuss all the news update. And later on tonight, I'll be telling you some of the news headline as well. So many, sad, terrible. I've never seen any good news coming out of Nigeria for a very long time. And I'm being honest right now. I know there's a lot of people that do skis and different things, but I'm talking about many Nigerians that are struggling to have 3 square meals. And that for me is no to a country that is meant to take care of its people. Let's go back again to the president of the Nigerian Labour Union.
Constructed a refinery, and the country, the nation, Nigeria cannot construct a refinery. Why are we trying to move into a dictatorship of the refineries, of the market? Why are other millionaires in Nigeria not refining? If you have 20 people or 10 people refining, then you can talk of a deregulated market. You can talk of competition in the market. A market where only one person is a player, you have a lot of problems. So that is the issue. The Port Harcourt refinery you mentioned, yes, for clarity, we are promised that the refinery will come into stream by December. Didn't come. We are told by February again. Didn't come. They are now telling us by December. It's endless. So who is fooling
because of time, allow me to ask you, these discussions will continue according to the spokesperson of the federal government. So what are the representative of the federal government? I beg your pardon. So what are you saying with regards to that, the conversations with the federal government?
Well, the conversation, one thing Labour has done is to available if it is feasible, or to was based on benefit of doubt. Because while they invited us for that meeting, NNPC went ahead to dish out a kind of pricing template, which is unfair. And I don't see if the success of the next conversation, if NNPC does not withdraw that, because you can't negotiate at gunpoint. There must be goodwill. There must be negotiation in good faith. Right. That is what we have. So that
well, you've listened to the NLC, and it seems now that matter is still ongoing. This matter cannot be resolved yet until they take it straight to the street of Lagos, to the street of Kaduna, to the street of every part of Nigeria, and all that will be happening very, very soon. And just that like takes me now to this particular track that will then balance the conversation before we go into the next discussion. And that discussion will then lead us to more conversation at 7:30. But for now, this is Timaya. Once again, a very good evening to you, Alhaji Idris. Good evening to those of you that are with me. Keep the comment coming. The question is, should Dangote be richer than Nigeria? Mr. Clement said Nigeria is on the downward, and also Nigeria is irreversible, is going to be separatable as well. Good evening once again, and this is Timaya, politician PTOs. Where are you watching us from? You can let me know if you're listening to us from Kenya, from Kaduna, wherever you are in Nigeria. Are you watching me from Abuja? I say shout out to you, and I hope you are all getting ready for next week when the indefinite strike will go ahead. Do you think that that is going to be averted by President Bola Tinubu? Let's find out from you in the comment section. Hello, Nigeria, is this what they promised you? Was this what Bola Tinubu promised you when he was making the campaign? Should we give him more time? Some of you are saying maybe he needs to be given more time. The question is, are politicians the same? Is Bola Tinubu going to be different from the rest? As the situation get worse, as the situation got bad, what is your take on all these? I want to listen to you, and the next track will be much more powerful than these. That track was 15 years ago. Even one president was almost going to go into high blood pressure. Bola Tinubu is the president right now. I'll be telling you one of the clips that I picked up of the same Bola Tinubu before he became a president 11 years ago. Make sure you stay tuned. Someone is watching me from Nigeria. I say good evening to you, Mrs. Titi Layo. We love you all from Nigeria, and we say Ekalema. The dollar is still rising. Do you think that Bola Tinubu can bring the dollar back down? I'll be telling you more after the first music break, and when we'll be telling you who is the new central bank of Nigeria and what is he saying. Once again, if you're joining for the very first time, this is coming up to 1 minute before 7 p.m. local time in London. It's the same time in Nigeria. The weather is now almost like Nigeria. It's very cool in temperature, and it's also a little bit dark. That means that we are coming into winter. Oh, not again. Winter. I got to get my jacket up and running. NetTech says some people in Nigeria are more richer than in Nigeria itself. Wow, that shouldn't be. Emperor said Dangote just laundered money for Bill Gates. That is not new. Interesting. One somebody says, like you say, my salary is 120 per month, but not for the use again. Wow. Do you think that the politicians will listen to you? Are they going to be picturing you? Do you think so? What is your take? Keep the comment coming. I want to read from the comment section. It seems that more Nigerians are dying, and what can we do? Prince Adebayo Shitu, good evening to you. Kunle Shitu, good evening to you. Aziz, all the way in Miami. Aziz in Houston. Those of you in America, in Malaysia, in the Asian country, in India, and those of you in Dubai, those of you in Oman, I asked the question. Bola Tinubu says to diaspora at the just concluded United Nations General Assembly that Nigerians should start coming home so that we can build it together. Do you think you're going to go back home? Are you going to go back to Nigeria? Those of you that are living outside, are you going to go back to Nigeria? Because President Bola Tinubu says, diaspora, come back home. Let us fix Nigeria together. Who is the new CBN governor, and what do we know about him? As we move away from the NLC, the next conversation is going to go on the Nigerians asking the question, what can Kadoso Olayomi, what can he do differently? His name actually popped up at a conversation that Tinubu made a year ago in Abeokuta that I listened to. Bola Tinubu, the president, said, I was given the option by the former president to be his running mate. And I said, no, I can't be your running mate. I would rather bring somebody in, and that is where Osibajo, the former vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, was nominated, and he also wanted to do what they called, traitor, kick off Bola Tinubu, because I'm not sure why he wanted to contest against Jagaban. Right now, as I can confirm, the vice president has now got a new job when it comes to climate change. Do you still believe in Nigeria? I, Olayomi Koiki, I don't think I believe in Nigeria anymore. I believe in Yoruba nation. Do you think that you still believe in Nigeria with all your life? Are you sure? Ayobami, good evening and welcome once again. Do you still pledge with Nigeria or you are not going to pledge? Great Yoruba nation, good evening to you. Come back home without any provision. Well, he's turning things around. Don't say he's not doing anything. The president says you should come back to Nigeria. He's going to turn things around. He's going to make Nigeria a very great place, just like Buhari said in 2015. Do you still love Nigeria? Well, if you love Nigeria, that is your right, because that is what your pastor or your imam is telling you. Everywhere you go na Nigeria. Are you sure that whatever you are doing is Nigeria? Maybe we should move away from that and start telling you a little bit more about the next track. The next track is even a little bit much hotter. This was 15 years ago, like I said, and as at the time, it seems that the former president Olusegun Obasanjo wanted to have an attack when we talk about the this particular track that we're going to play to you right now. Oh yeah, let's go to it. What do you mean by Naija? What do you mean by Jaga Jaga? What do you mean by Jaga Jaga? Idris Abdul Karim. This was 15 years ago. Do you think that anything has changed? And do you think that something will change in Nigeria to make Nigeria a better place for every one of us to live in? Madipi said, come back home when you are running away from home. Well, you remind me of Andrew No Check Out. Oh, Nigeria go survive. Nigeria go survive. Africa go. I think I need to get that track as well before we move in.
Well, to put this back, with due respect to the president and the people of Nigeria, Jaga Jaga is not an abusive word. I mean, Jaga Jaga has just pinpointed what is happening in our democracy, in our environment, in our society, and put it back to our people. Many people are not educated in Nigeria. What is the percentage of education in Nigeria? 4% or 6%. So this is what I'm talking about. How many kids out there who hawk this, banana and granite gala knows what HIV/AIDS is all about? Jaga Jaga is talking about what is going on in our society, and I'm putting it back.
Do you think that it was right? A lot of Nigerians were very angry with the word Jaga Jaga. Alhaji Idris said Nigeria is gone. NetTech Electrical said, I don't believe in Nigeria. Yoruba nation, now. What is Jaga Jaga?
So you can look at it and you watch it and you know it's true. I'll be
telling you what we need to know when it comes to the new board of directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We have Dr. Olayomi Michael Cardoso as the chairman board of director. We have Mr. Philip Ikazo, board member, and we have so many new people that have taken their fare. Do you think that I can turn things around? The dollar is now $1,000 naira to a dollar.
Nigeria Jaga Jaga means that I've cost Nigeria. I mean, this is what I see in my hood. This is what I see. This is what is happening to.
Is that what you are saying across the 774 local government in Nigeria? Does everywhere looks Jaga Jaga? I thought Lagos State is doing very well until I started seeing more areas that things like it looks like Lagos itself is Jaga Jaga.
And I have to put it back into music and give it back to them because that's what I do.
Shout out to our mother, Mrs. Kemi Bello, saying Nigeria is Jaga Jaga, everything na Jaga Jaga. Olawale Oyelohun says good evening and say good evening to you. Remember that if you love this kind of outfit, get in touch with Omitav Culture and you can be rest assured you're going to look very cool. When Obasanjo had this song, it seems that Obasanjo had a BP.
Because that's what I do. If I don't do that, and God would ask me, why wouldn't I do that? So Jaga Jaga, Mr. President, is not an abusive word.
Okay.
That's just pinpointed the ills in the society, and let's see how we can improve it. And that's what it means.
Do you think that the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that has now brought in Olayomi Dr. Cardoso? Is he going to turn things around as the new leader of the Central Bank of Nigeria? It seems that Emefiele, it looks like Emefiele now is still in the dungeon of the DSS. I'm sure now you understand what Nnamdi Kanu is going through.
In the society, and let's see how we can improve it. And that's what it means. So don't get me wrong, Nigerians. Nigeria jaga jaga now. We gotta get some reality right here. Turn up my microphone. Shit. What's up? Turn my microphone on. Shit. It's time to get some reality. 204. Abdul Karim. What up? Nigeria jaga jaga.
Is it jaga jaga? Are you sure that Nigeria is jaga jaga? Let me know in the comment section. Bishop Adesina Adeyomi say good evening to you. He says everything is jaga jaga. How much is the cost of transportation now? How much is the bag of rice? The dollar is now becoming 1,000 naira to $1. It seems that Buhari came on board in 2015. The dollar then was 250. Wow. And we are not yet in Christmas. And the dollar is already 1,000. Do we really need the dollar? Well, if we don't need the dollar, good evening to you, to my beautiful family, and shout out to you, and kudos, and welcome once again, and great job for the job you're doing on the other side of the globe. We love you all.
Everything's
Do you think that we can bring the situation down with the situation presently? As we move away, let me remind you that when Obasanjo had that Nigeria was jaga jaga, he had a BP. Are we sure that the poor man are still suffering? Like I said, I picked up what Bola Tinubu said 11 years ago. I'm going to be telling you more about that. But it seems that President Bola Tinubu says, I am doing everything. I am doing everything to bring Nigeria back. Bola Tinubu is the president. But while Obasanjo was there, this track was released. This young man was almost in trouble with the former president as at the time. Let's listen again. We now have more ritualists. We have more people that are into cultism. Even Mohbad that has been killed seems to have been bullied. But Naira Marley say, I don't know anything, no. Make una no call me, I don't know anything, no. Nigeria is a very funny place.
Went straight up to your bed.
Your armed robber does not steal money. He went straight to your bed and killed a former Chief Justice of Nigeria. We call him Uncle Bola Ige. Till date, it seems that nobody is talking about that. It's not just his own. I'm going to be telling you more. So is that armed robber or is that what? Also, somewhere in Lagos, in the southwest, many of you might not know this name, but this name is very, very ringing to many people, and they are still asking the question that has not been resolved till date: who killed Funsho Williams? Funsho Williams was a politician. He was born on the 9th of May 1948. Anthony Olufunsho Williams was an influential Nigerian, a politician that the armed robber, oh, did I say armed robber? What kind of armed robber is that? That visited Funsho Williams, didn't steal any money, didn't steal any jewelry, didn't steal anything out of the house, but they left him dead. What kind of Nigeria is that? There is still no what we call final conclusion. If Funsho Williams family never got justice, are you sure that Mohbad we get justice? Waris Jinadu, no, NetTech Electrical say a bag of rice is now 46,000. Aziz, I say shout out to you. I am the last man standing of Yoruba Nation journalist. When they came to Dr. Sunday Igboho's house, they never want money, even though they stole a lot of his jewelry, they stole millions of dollars, they stole millions of naira. More money was stolen from Dr. Oloye Igboho's house, but the reason for the attack was not just to call him to custody. It was an assassination attempt by the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, and the governor of Ondo State, of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, and some of our leaders that I'll probably not mention their names. They were not armed robbers. These were military just like Fela said, unknown soldier would have been the case if Igboho was killed as at that time. It would have been unknown gunmen. They might even have said that it was the Biafra that came to Soka and killed Igboho. Igboho escaped, but 2 people died. Alhaji Fatai, his uncle, and a very, very close friend, Adogon. Those 2, we continue to say, may their soul rest in peace. As we move away from that, let's come back now to the conversation. The question again is, who killed Delegiwa? There is still no conclusion and no justice. Many people have been killed in Nigeria, from the northern part of Nigeria all the way down to the southeast, to the southwest, to the middle belt. The question is, can Nigerians ever get justice? Okiki said, I left my house. He says, Koiki, I left my house on Monday morning. I can't go back till Saturday. What Nigeria is that? Many Nigerians want a country that works. But the question is, can Nigeria work based on the constitution? Before we start discussing the next conversation, I want to take you back to 11 years ago from one of the clips I found for you of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What was he saying? It's just 1 minute and just 50 seconds. As at the time, Bola Tinubu was saying something, and now that he's in the government, do you think that Bola Tinubu would do exactly what he was opposing or what he was actually questioning? Let me put it that way. Because 11 years ago was this interview, and this interview is saying there can never be lies when it comes to social media. Obafemi, good evening to you. Silver Badmos, good evening to you. Nobody disagree with your views for those of you that love your politicians. But now let me play this particular clip as an audio. And I want you to tell me in the comment section, welcome on board to those of you that have joined us once again. We want to know those that have been killed and why there's no justice for them. We want justice for Mohbad, and we hope that the Lagos authority will put every mechanism to come out truthfully and tell us the conclusion. There must not be panky like they did with the Nlc'S. The Nlc'S was a panky. I say shout out to you once again in Woolwich. Shout out to my brother in Luton. Triple DRS say maybe Baba Obasanjo should be called to answer who killed Uncle Bola Ige. Maybe Bola Tinubu should call Obasanjo. That's what I've been told on the comment section. I say shout out to my beautiful auntie, and I say welcome Mrs. Abosede Rachel. You say good evening to the last man standing, Ekuishe. At 7:30, you'll be hearing a bit of my Ingbati Yoruba. But for now, I would like to appreciate every single one of you. There are so many questions. Aziz went on to say, Aziz of Miami. There's also Aziz of Houston. As somebody said to me, only Aziz in Miami you they call. Me too, I'll be Aziz for Houston. What did they happen? Shout out to those of you in America. And we hope that this time next year, you will all be gearing up for the election. I don't know who I'm going to be supporting because we don't have a candidate yet from the Republican, but we have a Republican from the Democrat. It seems Biden wants to go out again. What is your take on that? I don't want to dive into that yet. I want to focus back on what Tinubu said 11 years ago. He actually traveled to America as at the time on an invitation by the Democrat for their convention or whatever they were doing. This is what the president now said 11 years ago.
I don't want to give, any credence, to whatever they are saying. It doesn't distract from the fact that, I was at the convention. I was invited properly, and have an honored guest, position. So, who are they that I need to prove anything to them? I was there. And what's their business? Is that about the high unemployment in this country? Is that about lack of food on the tables and the kitchen of the poor? Is that about electricity that they cannot even properly privatize? Blackmailing the honorable minister and forcing somebody to resign because they want to turn it to family patrimony? Is that, the cause of infrastructure that is lacking in this country? Is that, shouldn't we even share knowledge
acquire knowledge, to really understand, what a nation needs.
How prepared are you for next month?
Okay, before the question was asked, how prepared, because there was an election as at the time in Ondo State. You've listened to the president now. He wasn't the president as at the time. And I want us to go back and listen one more time. And I'm going to take note of some of what he's saying. And then we might try to ask questions surrounding that with the new CBN governor. And I want you also to take note of that. I mean, I have my specimen. There's the dollar. I didn't know that this is going to be parallel. As at the time Buhari came, it was not even 500 to a dollar. It was literally 250 to the dollar. But today, we are now struggling to balance the situation. Now, when you have 1,000 naira, you can easily buy a dollar at the black market. And we are not yet even at the Christmas time. Now, once again, it is still the Star Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. We'll be telling you everything you need to know. Yes, the president said a lot. I mean, as at the time, he wasn't the president, but I want us to go back and take note of some of what he's saying and now see maybe it will be too early because the president is only there less than 3 months. So it will be too early to start judging this administration. But it will be on record that even if this video comes off, I don't think mine will be able to come down or my notebook, because I'm going to come back and review these. Because if I have to go back and review the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, I can tell you he had no clue about the country. He was just as clueless as anything. I'm talking about the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. He had no clue about running a country. He thought he was running his cow business. He actually destroyed the country, and it seems that Bola Tinubu says, well, you can't blame me for what happened, but can we blame him? Later on, he was actually putting a blame to the previous administration 11 years ago. Let's listen to it.
I don't want to give, any credential, to whatever they are saying. It doesn't distract from the fact that, I was at the convention. I was invited properly, and have an honored guest, position. So, who are they that I need to prove anything to them? How was that? And what's their business? Is that about the high unemployment in this country? Is that about lack of food on the tables and the kitchen of the poor? Is that about electricity that they cannot even properly privatize? Blackmailing the honorable minister and forcing somebody to resign because they want to turn it to family patrimony? Is that, the cause of infrastructure that is lacking in this country? Is that, shouldn't we even share knowledge, acquire knowledge, to really understand, what a nation needs?
How prepared are you for next month's election in the states?
We are very, very prepared. The candidate is working hard. The party is working very hard. All our structure are in place. And
now we've listened to 4 points I've picked up there. Higher employment. Amakules, good evening to you and welcome once again. We know that there's a lot of high unemployment in Nigeria. It's not the fault of this current president. This has been going on for some time. Good evening, sir, Mr. Ono Adiola Fortune Michael, and welcome, sir. High unemployment. Do you think that Bola Tinubu will be able to bring what we called unemployment and reducing? Buhari, I'm not sure whether Buhari even know what the unemployment was. I mean, he had no clue. I mean, I don't know how, Bola Tinubu brought in Buhari, because Buhari had no clue running the current situation that Nigerians are facing. He also talked about lack of food in the country. Why do we have lack of food in Nigeria? Because Buhari also opened the border and there were so many killings that were taking place from around different parts of Nigeria. So the question is, once again, this is still your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK. In your car, at work, at home, on your smartphone.
He also talked about power, lack of food in the country. Do you think that the current administration will be able to put food on the table? How is he going to do that when we are still talking about the new CBN governor, Dr. Olayomi Michael Cardoso? The Senate have confirmed him as the new CBN. No politician will hijack CBN under my leadership. For me, that is a do not say too much, because we will remember and we will remind you, Emefiele was not meant to be under any politician. From the little understanding, it was meant to be on his own, because Emefiele decided to work more with the politician. Michael Cardoso said, and I quote, "No politician will be able to hijack anything under my own leadership." Do you believe him? It is easier said than done. We would like to see action speak louder than words. Dr. Olayomi Cardoso, I will remind you some of what you are saying at this particular hour. We will come back and review some of what you will be doing from those that believe that you will put things and drop and change things in a way that will favor the Nigeria economy. Dr. Olayomi Cardoso, the recently appointed governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has stated emphatically that no politician will take control of the Apex Bank during his tenure. The Apex Bank, known as the CBN Act, came into place 2 years before Nigeria independence in 1958. Cardoso made this declaration. I hope you will hold on to this declaration while responding to questions posed by the Senate President Godwill Akpabio during the Senate screening. The question revolved around the issue of whether Dr. Olayomi Cardoso would succumb to external influences. Emefiele succumbed. Emefiele was giving more dollar to a particular set of people in Nigeria, and that was becoming unbearable to the layman that was looking for dollar to send their children on education or medical or holiday. But Emefiele made sure that dollar was available to some part of Nigerians, or part of Nigeria rather, and some elite. In response, Cardoso family asserted that under his stewardship, the Apex Bank will remain impervious to any form of political manipulation or hijacking, signifying a resolute commitment to preserving the institution and autonomy and integrity. Again, Cardoso, we will remind you, we now can ask questions surrounding what he's going to do, but we will be able to review that in some few months ahead. But he has now been confirmed. Nigerians are waiting for what he's going to do differently from Emefiele. Once again, good evening and welcome. Additional Bishop says he cannot do anything without Tinubu and the political cartel. Once again, keep the comment coming and I'll be reading them out as I pick them up as well. We are just 4 minutes into what we call the self-determination conversation under the leadership of Professor Banji Akintoye. Everything you need to know. We've talked about the NLC. We've talked about, the new CBN. The most important thing also is many Nigerians that have been killed, there have never been justice for them. I mean, I can name and name and name from the north to the south, to the south-south, to the southeast, and also to the southwest. The question is, would Mohbad ever get justice? is a question. I'm going to ask that again. Do you, as a Nigerian, think that the death of Mohbad will bring the first proper setting for delivering justice to Nigerians? Pelumi, a young journalist, was killed in Nigeria during, I believe, the Nlc'S. His body was dumped to that part of Ikorodu at the General Hospital while the family were looking for the body. Till date, no justice. Should I remind you about the beautiful mother that was killed on Christmas Day, Bolanle Rahim, killed by the officer? No justice for her. She died with beautiful twins. Should I remind you again, from those that have been killed, whether he's dead or alive, we don't know, that the Yati. Should I remind you about our killings? Do you think that there can ever be justice in Nigeria? That is a question that I want you to think about as we wait for more preliminary of what led to the death of this young man called Mohbad. It's a shame that someone like Pastor Tunde Bakari can play around the death of this young man. And listen to him. I have met Pastor Tunde Bakari once before in London, and I'm highly disappointed in such an individual. If you have nothing to say, you told Nigerians that Buhari was going to transform Nigeria. You lied. You told Nigerians that Buhari was the best for Nigeria. You lied. Do not use the death of this young boy to play around. Again, we are highly disappointed with your words after the death of Mohbad. If you have nothing to say with your congregation, why not focus on what God is telling you? Because you told us, I listened to that Buhari was driving Nigeria through your dream in a vehicle that had no steering and had no brakes and everything. We should not use the death of an individual to play around. Again, we are highly disappointed with Pastor Tunde Bakari. May the soul of Mohbad continue to rest in peace while justice will wait from the Lagos and the governor of Lagos State. Now, let's come back now straight out of that and let's go to another injustice that continue to happen in Nigeria. It's not going to be the last, but it's just one out of so many. We are talking about Tani Olong. That is like a nickname given to him. But Tani Olong has a name as well. Tani Olong was kidnapped in Nigeria from Ibadan. Why was he kidnapped? What led to that kidnap? What has he done that has made those in the southwest of Nigeria called Kwara State to be bitter people? They want to make sure that they take him down, and they take him down and bring him down as quickly as possible. He's a traditional believer, and whether some of what he was saying was right or wrong is not the reason why I am talking about it. If he has said anything, and I mean anything against any other religion, which I will not be able to say as someone living here as well. We respect every religion. I even respect people that have no religion, those that are called the atheists. But I will not come out and speak against them. So if Tani Olong has done anything wrong, the first question is, has he been given the proper right as a citizen under the fraudulent 1999 Constitution? I believe his case should have been held in Ibadan rather than Ilorin, because that is where the jurisdiction of where he lives. He has been given a bail condition, very, very stringent one. But it seems that tomorrow, if I'm right, some young individuals will be doing what we call a peaceful gathering at Mokola in front of the Secretariat in Ibadan. let us see if you can also participate. I understand some of you that are Muslims are not happy with some of the utterances of Tani Olohun. Some of what he's saying might be very, very negative against your own belief. But we should not take that as an excuse and perform jungle justice. Jungle justice should not be the case in this particular matter. It will be a case between Tani Olohun and also the government to decide. But it seems already that from what we have heard, he was kidnapped, just like Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped under the nose of the former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and Buhari. You would think that Yemi Osinbajo, a well-learned senior advocate of Nigeria, who allow an unlearned person like Buhari to be used and kidnapped and rendition, and that would be in the history that when Osinbajo was the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under his nose, he allowed Buhari to bring back Nnamdi Kanu as a kidnap rendition to Nigeria. History will remember you as you now have a new role to play with climate or whatever you're talking about. The question again is, as this man called Tani Olohun, known as Abdulaziz Adegbola, we understand that a bail condition that is very, very stringent. He doesn't live in Ilorin, yet so much is being done by the Islamic scholar and whoever the emir of Ilorin. I don't care whoever you are. The question is, we must allow justice to take place without interfering in that justice. And it seems already that you can never get justice for someone like this, because the matter has already had a lot of interference from so many individuals. And this is what we are saying again. Under the Universal Human Rights Declaration, everybody has a right until proven innocent or not innocent. Just as next week, Monday, Alison Madueke will be appearing at the London Magistrate Court in London for charges against crime that has been committed. We are not here to say that whether Tani Olohun, known as Abdulaziz Adegbola, has committed a crime is not the issue. But the fact that he has committed a crime, those that are in charge of bringing him up in terms of whatever offense he has done, they have also done the other way by trying to do what the law should not have accepted. And as at this time, we will speak a bit of more of our beautiful language called the Yoruba language. For those that might probably be lost at the minute, I will do as much of summary. Yoruba Nation Conversation and the Biafra Conversation and other countries that want the right to self-determination. Once again, as we move away from Tani Olohun, where 5 million and 2 shorties, and I believe someone that lives in that residence for his bail condition. We will continue to monitor that. But like I said, tomorrow at Mokola at Ibadan, southwest of Nigeria, there's going to be a peaceful gathering for Tani Olohun. Tomorrow, we're going to be hosting those that are also going to be performing what we call Idije Asha Ati Ishe Ile Yoruba. I'm going to be hosting them tomorrow on my platform at 9 p.m. Make sure you join me and let us know more about what they're going to be telling us. Gbogbo ẹ ká mọ̀ pátápátá. Tó bá di ọ̀la lágbára Ọlọ́run, gbogbo yín kí ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa ní aago 9 lórí ètò ti tọ̀dọ̀ tiwa, níbi tí ètò yìí máa wáyé fún gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ tí ẹ tẹ̀lé Yorùbá Nation lábẹ́ bàbá wa Akíntóyè. Oríṣiríṣi awuyewuye ni à ń gbọ́ látọ̀dọ̀ arábìnrin tó ń pè ní Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí, ìyẹn 419 tó ń pè rẹ̀ ní Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí àti Ìjìnlẹ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n tún ṣàlàyé fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá, ètò Star Radio UK òun náà ni a wà ní 27th of September 2023, aago 7:30 ni ó ṣẹ̀lù. A gbọ́ pé ó ní àwọn lọ sí United Nations tí wọ́n ń pè ní General Assembly. Ó jáde, ó dẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn jáde fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá, ẹ dẹ̀ gbàgbọ́. Mo fẹ́ fi dá gbogbo wa lójú pé kò síbì kankan tí ẹ̀rí ń bẹ pẹ̀lú document pé Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí tí gbogbo yín mọ̀ sí Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí onírọ́ pé ó rányàn lọ sí United Nations General Assembly. Wọ́n rán nìkankan lọ sí United Nations General Assembly, the 78th General Assembly ni mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ yìí. A sọ̀rọ̀ pé èèyàn lọ fún any other event tí wọ́n participate nínú ẹ̀, nítorí pé United Nations tẹ́ ń rí yẹn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ event ni wọ́n ń ṣe nínú ẹ̀. Àmọ́ èyí tí wọ́n fi ń pe gbogbo àwùjọ, gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ ìlú kọ̀ọ̀kan àti adarí wọn, a rò pé aríbì kankan níbẹ̀ tí àwọn tí wọ́n ní àwọn lọ jẹ́ fún Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí tó náà wọ́n declare Yorùbá Nation ìyẹn ní ọdún tó kọjá lọ lọ́hùn tó ń pè ní òmìnira 2022. Ara àwọn irọ́ tí ọkọ ẹ̀ gbé sílẹ̀ kó tó ṣaláìsí, nítorí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ iṣẹ́ tí ọkọ ẹ̀ ṣe kalẹ̀ òun ni a sì ń jèrè ẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà lénìí. Tí a bá ní ká dẹnumọ́ sí ọ̀rọ̀ ọkọ ẹ̀ yẹ Abíọ́lá tó ṣaláìsí tó kú nígbà tí ó ṣe election, ẹ rí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wàhálà tí irọ́ tí ọkọ ẹ̀ gbé kalẹ̀ òun náà ló lọ lọ́nkàn yẹn. Mo á tún fi ń sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé gbogbo ìgbà tí ẹ bá ń gbọ́ tí Ìjìnlẹ̀ ìyẹn tó ń jẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ fún Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí tó ń jáde pé àwọn lọ sí United Nations, kò ń ṣe United Nations General Assembly ni wọ́n lọ. Wọ́n lè lọ United Nations tí míì tí wọ́n ń ṣe program míì, àjiyàn yẹn. Àmọ́ pé the General Assembly tí wọ́n sọ pé wọ́n ń ṣe ní ọdọọdún tí wọ́n ń pè ní the 78th General Assembly, ìyẹn kọ́ ni wọ́n lọ fún o. Ẹ má jẹ́ kí wọ́n fún yín ní ìtàn pè ní irọ́ láti sọ pé àwọn ti lọ sí United Nations láti máa fi kàjó yín. Kò sí nǹkan tó jọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí ètò Star Radio UK òun ni a ti ń sọ eléyìí. A ti gbé Dúpẹ́ wá fúnra rẹ̀ ìyẹn ní ọdún tó lọ lọ́hùn, nígbà tí a rò pé èèyàn gidi ni. A mọ̀ pé kò ń ṣe èèyàn gidi rárá. A mọ̀ pé kò kí ń ṣe èèyàn, torí pé tó bá jẹ́ pé èèyàn ni a ti rí ní ìwẹ̀ àti ìṣe ẹ̀. A ti wá rí pé ara àwọn tí wọ́n da ìlú rú ìyẹn ọkọ tiẹ̀ náà, torí pé ọkọ tiẹ̀ wà lára àwọn tó da Nàìjíríà rú tí kò jẹ́ kí bàbá Awólọ́wọ̀ kó lọ síbi tó yẹ kó dé. So gbogbo tí bàbá wa Professor Banji Akíntóyè ń ṣe lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́, in tí Dúpẹ́ ń ṣe ni pé in tọ́kọ ẹ̀ ti ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀ rí lòun náà fẹ́ gbé ṣe. Àní wá fún láyè. Gbogbo ìgbà tó bá ti ń gbé irọ́ jáde, ó ti di dandan pé àwa máa jáde láti sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé irọ́ ló ń bẹ níbẹ̀, kò sí òtítọ́ kankan níbẹ̀. Tó bá jẹ́ pé òtítọ́ ni, ìyẹn tó jẹ́ Ìjìnlẹ̀, wọ́n ò bá sọ fún Ìjìnlẹ̀ pé kó lọ represent àwọn ní United Nations General Assembly. Ìjìnlẹ̀ fúnra rẹ̀ kò lè kúrò nínú Turkey, nítorí pé bíyàn bá níwèé ò lè rìnrìn àjò kankan. Ìyẹn number one. Tí kò bá lè wá rán Ìjìnlẹ̀, kí ló dé tí kò rán arákùnrin tó ń pè ní Jimmy Boy ìyẹn Black Goat ní Amẹ́ríkà? Ṣèbí Amẹ́ríkà nìyẹn ń gbé. Kí ló dé tí kò jẹ́ pé ìyẹn ló lọ represent wọn nínú United Nations General Assembly ni mò ń sọ. Mo ò sọ èyí tí bàbá Fálétí tó jáde tó ń sọ fún yín pé òun lọ sí United Nations. Ẹ sọ fún bàbá Fálétí pé Olayomi Koiki ló ń sọ̀rọ̀, kò ń ṣe United Nations General Assembly lẹ́ lọ bàbá. Èmi ò jiyàn pé lọ sí United Nations àbẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, àmọ́ United Nations General Assembly kọ́ lẹ lọ fún. Ìtàn pè ní Universal Declaration of Human Rights 75th Annual Anniversary lẹ lọ fún. Ó wà lára ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ sọ 75th Annual Anniversary. Tẹ́ bá gbọ́ fídíò tí Fálétí Stephen, tẹ́ bá lọ sórí LinkedIn, orúkọ ẹ̀ wà níbẹ̀. Gbogbo ètò yẹn làwa ti rí. Irọ́ tó gbé kalẹ̀, o ò lè parọ́ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá. O sọ lẹ́nu ara ẹ̀ fún rẹ pé o wá rẹpísẹ́ǹtì Onítìrí, kò sẹ́ni tó bẹ́ẹ̀ argue. Ìwọ náà ló ń ṣe recording fún rẹ, ìwọ náà ló ń record ara rẹ. Kò síbi kankan nínú United Nations General Assembly tó ti record ìwọ fúnra rẹ, ìwọ náà ló ń record ara rẹ. O wá bá àwọn òyìnbó ya picture, ojoojúmọ́ ni mò ń bá òyìnbó ya picture nílùú òyìnbó. O bá lọ síbì kan as a delegate gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún NGO ló ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún Stephen Fálétí. Mo sọ pé lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, NGO ló ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún. O ò ṣiṣẹ́ kankan ju pé as an NGO, non-governmental organization, wọ́n lè fún yín ní access pé kẹ́ wá attend irú àwọn event tó lọ fún yẹn. Ìyẹn ò lè wá fi gbé irọ́ kalẹ̀. Event tó dẹ̀ lọ fún, o mọ̀, kò ń ṣe United Nations General Assembly. Ó tún dárúkọ pé o wá gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹgbẹ́ kan tó ń pè ní progressive. Ṣé ṣé progressive tí ó register as an NGO, because there's a progressive kan tí ó register lábẹ́ United Nations tí a ti rí, kò ń ṣe United Nations tí ó ń sọ fún wọ pé kó wá sí General Assembly, but ó lọ gẹ́gẹ́ bí a non-governmental organization tí wọ́n ń pè ní Progressive Association, because ó dárúkọ progressive, ó dárúkọ òmìnira nígbà tó ń ṣe presentation ẹ̀. Mo wá ń wonder pé kí ló dé tí o omit òmìnira 2022, ṣé nítorí pé o fẹ́ jẹ́ káwọn NGO yẹn mọ̀ pé o tún gbé òmìnira dání? Ìyẹn ló ṣe fẹ́ ṣe tó ń pè ní conflict of interest, nítorí pé nílùú tó wà, ìlú tó lófin ni. Tó bá jẹ́ pé òmìnira 2022 ló torí ẹ̀ lọ fún, ó yẹ kó dárúkọ òmìnira gangan. Kí ló dé tẹ́ tí wọ́n ń dárúkọ progressive? Nítorí pé progressive people of Yoruba land, in tèmi ti lọ check ni confirmation ẹ̀ wà pé it is a registered non-organization ní abẹ́ United Nations. Láwọn oríṣiríṣi NGO ló wà níbẹ̀. Nínú àwọn NGO yẹn, there are 60 ló attend ibi tó ń pè ní Universal Declaration of Human Rights ní ọdún yìí. Nínú àwọn 60 yẹn, 16 ni NGO tó wá láti Nàìjíríà. Lára ìkànnà àwọn NGO tí mo rò pé òun bá ṣiṣẹ́ ìwọ Stephen Faleti, òun ni Progressive People of Yoruba Land, tó ń pè ní Progressive People of Yoruba Land Worldwide Association. Mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá lọ síbi tó ń pè ní www.thinkglobal.org. Ẹ jẹ́ ká béèrè lọ́wọ́ Faleti pé ṣáwọn tó ń bá ṣiṣẹ́ nìyẹn kó tó di pé ìrìn àjò Yorùbá Nation dé. Màá fi sílẹ̀ náà. Orúkọ tèmi ni Olayomi Koiki. Tá bá tún ṣe ń rí information, a máa mú wá fún ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, mo dúró pé irọ́ ló ń bẹ níbi pé Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí tó pe rẹ̀ ní Aya Bíọ́lá pẹ̀lú àwọn ìjìnlẹ̀ àti àwọn Wálé Àlí, Ayọ̀ Brown àti Queen Shaba àbí Queen B àti gbogbo yín bẹ́ẹ̀ tẹ̀ ń tẹ̀lé wọn. Mo challenge yín pé kò síbì kankan tí evidence fi hàn pé Faleti tó lọ sí United Nations, ó lọ síbi tó ń pè ní General Assembly, 78th United Nations General Assembly ni mò ń sọ. Mo ò sọ 75th Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Into dárúkọ nìyẹn. Ó sọ nípa SDG goals. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni United Nations ní goal tí wọ́n expect Nigeria ó gbọ́dọ̀ ṣe by 2030. Mo rò bóyá bá Nigeria máa lè ṣe that as well. But tó bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ SDG goals, in tí United Nations sọ ni, ìyẹn ṣe Newton. Ó lọ gẹ́gẹ́ bí delegate kan fún organization kan ni. Ó wá lò yẹn láti fi àdẹ̀ mọ́ òmìnira irọ́ tẹ́ gbé dání. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, ẹ jẹ́ ká fìyẹn sílẹ̀. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, orúkọ mi ni Olayomi Koiki tí gbogbo yín mọ̀ sí Koiki Media àti Olayomi Koiki lórí Naija Voices. Lórí ibi tí a ti ń bá ètò yẹn lọ, níbi tí a ti ń sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé sẹ́ ẹ fọkàn balẹ̀, iṣẹ́ ń lọ dáadáa lórí ìrìn àjò yìí lábẹ́ àṣẹ àwọn YSDM tí a mọ̀ sí Yorùbá Self Determination. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, bí a ti ṣe ń ṣe ètò yìí lọ, èyí tẹ́ bá ṣe ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa, ebi báyìí ni wọ́n ń pè ní kíni?
UK. This is Star Radio UK. In your car, at work, at home, on your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. In your car, at work, at home, on your smartphone. The best radio show. The best radio show. The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
Tó ibi tí a tún padà wá sórí ètò náà, mo ní tó bá di aago 8 lágbára Elédùmarè, ó ṣeéṣe kí bàbá wa alànà Professor Adébánjí Akíntóyè wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ lórí àwọn Yorùbá World Media. Tí a bá rí signal láti bíbáyìí, a sọ fún yín. Let's go back and get some update as well on the Biafra government in exile of Prime Minister of Biafra Republic Government of Exile, Simon Ekpa. Some of the latest news that continue from their side. Also, as here is the gathering of the terrorists in the North Boat bragging of deploying fighter jet against Biafra. Remember that not the last week, the upper week, we saw the terrorists and the Nigerian military having what they call a peaceful dialogue, a peaceful discussion. My question is, if the federal government of Nigeria under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is discussing with the terrorists, is having negotiation with them, as evidence pointed out with video in Castina, and the question then is, why then are they deploying all military architects to destroy what is called the southeast part of Nigeria today? Bola Tinubu promised that Nigerians will be given opportunity to decide whatever they prefer. But it seems that he's now leaning to the northern part of Nigeria from some of the dialogue conversation that they are pushing on him. Olakunle, good evening to you. Ikenla Sport Club, good evening and welcome. There's a particular video that I'm going to give you the audio soundtrack. The question is, are we now saying that the current administration is looking up to putting the dialogue on the table between the terrorists operating in Nigeria and the federal government? If that is the case, the question then is, what about the rest of those that are campaigning and asking for the right to self-determination? Right to self-determination is not a crime, and the present administration must understand that. Let's give more from what is some of the updates as is happening from the news from the Biafra this evening, and then we go back again to some of the news as well from the Yoruba nation as well. Once again, my name is Olayomi Koiki, and this is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. As we continue to look into the federal government says they've now approved to purchase 12 attack helicopters for the army, and it seems maybe part of that will be used again in the southeast. Sit at home continue every Monday. Also, this is a week that also there is a sit at home from 6 a.m. to 12 noon for the citizen, but for government offices, you're expected to close so that if you decide that you don't want that, then they must start talking and negotiating the Biafra exit. Rather than doing that, the question is, there will be more pressure on the cooker, and the more there's a pressure, the more there will be what we call push from both sides. As we continue to give you some of those as well, let me now again update you on some of the latest news when it comes to the Yoruba nation. The Yoruba nation is a movement, and as a movement, it's just as many movements that is occurring in different parts of the world. The Scottish people were asked for a referendum. They asked for a referendum in 2014. 2 million of them vote for stay with the union, while 1.6 million vote against. But that has turned around again. And that is why the Scottish people are now telling the UK government under Rishi Sunak that they would prefer to hold another referendum. The English is not giving that at the moment, and the Supreme Court says that the Scottish people do not have the right, not to be any kind of legislation jáde. And if that is going to be the case, the question would then be, if the Scottish people are not given the right, are they also going to stop the movement? Movement is the Yoruba nation. Some of you will come in and you probably get tired and you come off, while some of us will remain the last man standing. It is a long process, there's no doubt about it, but that process would definitely be achievable. We still have the Yoruba radio that is still ongoing. We have the shortwave radio. We have so many other online radio versions. You can go on the Play Store and download this. And also the Play Store can download the book and radio tí wọ́n fi communicate. This is the online radio. But the one that is the shortwave, every Saturday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Aago mẹ́jọ sí aago mẹ́sàn-án, the Yoruba time, in those of you that would like to listen to that. But you must have a shortwave to be able to listen to that. Once again, good evening to you, Colitech, and the rest of you that have joined us. Now, let's come back again and go briefly to the NLC. The Yoruba people are monitoring the NLC. There's nothing we can do to that. The NLC is an organization in Nigeria. But Yoruba tó ń bẹ nílé, we're advising you to make sure, prepare for the coming week. Whether the strike will go ahead or not is not a question. Tó bá lọ, go ahead. The poverty in the land is already tough. I don't know how you're going to be able to do it. A lot of you do not have the income, but I will advise you, prepare ahead. I have witnessed through my own family when it comes to a total indefinite strike. Prepare for what might be coming up next week. That is just the advice. Let's come back again. As I said, if I pick up the signal, the program here finished at 8:30, and I will be joining the conversation with Professor Banji Akintoye. Intambere lọ́wọ́ ìjọba President Bola Tinubu ni pé, how is he going to take care of the insecurity nílẹ̀ Yorùbá? Because the insecurity hasn't died down as we speak right now. Is he going to do the same thing that the former president Buhari did by looking away while many attacks occurred? The US has given travel warning to Nigeria. The travel warning is that do not think of going to Nigeria because of the current state of situation in Nigeria. So if you're traveling to Nigeria, you must prepare for whatever might occur. This is a travel advisory coming from the U.S. Department of State. And I'm going to read that quickly, for the benefit of our listeners around the world, because I know many of you are preparing for the Christmas and no one can tell you not to go back home. But if you're going back home, you must prepare. Mr. Kayode Afolabi, good evening to you, sir. And once again, good evening to Maddie Peace. Prepare your mind too. Most of you wants to go home. Nobody can hold you back from going home. But if you're going home, our own advice is based on what the US is saying. Lee Shuaibu, what is going on? She seems to be remarrying another terrorist. Unbelievable situation in Nigeria. Atiku is trending. Abuja is trending. There's a lot going on in Nigeria, but I'll be giving you some of the headline in the next few minutes. While as you saw, the Yoruba nation, the Biafra nation, and the rest of the nations that are also asking for the right to self-determination. According to the travel to Nigeria by the United States government, this is what they have to say. Nigeria is now on level 3. That is orange. Reconsider travel. Reconsider your travel. Reconsider travel to Nigeria due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, armed gangs. Some areas have increased risk. Do not travel to Borno State, Yobe State, Kogi State. Do not travel to Northern Adamawa State due to terrorism and kidnapping. Do not travel to Bauchi State, Gombe State, Kaduna State, Kano State, Katsina State, Sokoto State, and Zamfara State due to kidnapping. Do not go to Abia State, Anambra State, Bayelsa State, Delta State, Enugu State, Imo State, and Rivers State, with the exemption of Port Harcourt due to crime, kidnapping, and armed gangs. Country summary. Violent crimes such as armed robbery, assault, carjacking, kidnapping, hostage taking, roadside banditry, and rape is common throughout the country. Kidnappings for ransom occur frequently and often targeting dual national citizens. Most of you have American citizen, and you are likely to be kidnapped by some of your friends or family because they are aware of your dual citizenship. Again, kidnapping gangs have also stopped victims on interstate roads. Be very, very careful. Welcome on board, Comrade Shegun Ono. Kunle Bakers, good evening to you. Iwa Peluewa, good evening to you. And Yogi, good evening to you. Beautiful to my mom and the rest of you that are with us tonight on all the platforms. We're just half an hour, and again, this is still the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's go back again. Terrorists continue plotting and carrying out attacks in Nigeria. Terrorists may attack with little or no warning, targeting shopping centers, malls, markets, hotels, places of worship, restaurants, bars, schools, government installation, transportation hubs, and other places where crowds gather. Terrorists are known to walk with local gangs. So you got to be very careful. This is advice, is not from me, it's from the US State Department. They're also going to be working with local gangs to expand their reach. There's a civil unrest and the armed gangs in part of southern Nigeria, especially in Niger Delta and the southeast region. Armed criminality and gangs, including kidnapping, assault on Nigerian security services, is also perceived in this region. I want you to take note of the next one. Violence can flare up between communities of farmers and herders in rural areas. The US government has limited ability. Do you hear this? Thank you so much all the way from Canada and welcome on board, sir, Mr. Sampson. The US government has a very, very limited ability to provide emergency services to the US citizens in many areas of Nigeria due to security conditions. Shout out to those of you in Lagos State, Yemi Fatoki, and the rest of you across Anambra, Enugu, Kaduna, and the rest of Nigeria. If you decide to travel to Nigeria, this is the US government advice. Carry proper identification, including a US passport with a current Nigerian visa, if needed. Use caution when walking or driving at night. Keep a low profile. Review your travel routes and times to vary your predictability. Do not physically resist any armed robbery, attempt. Be extra vigilant when visiting banks or ATMs. Monitor local media like mine, international media like ours, for breaking events, because some of you are just like, okay, it's not going to happen until it happens. You will be the news I'll be reading out here, and I don't pray for such. Those of you in Nigeria, is also the same thing that applies. What you just have to do the reverse, because you don't have American citizenship, but you can also keep a very, very low profile. So these are advice as we're coming up to 8 o'clock right now on the Star Radio UK Network, Niger Voices. Avoid demonstrations and large political gatherings. Stay alert in locations frequented by Westerners. Be aware of your surroundings. Monitor local media and some of our own as well. Review your personal security plans. Have evacuation plans that do not rely on the US government assistance. For those of you in Nigeria, it will be, you have to also know that you don't have assistance from the present administration. Once again, these are the reasons why the Biafrans are saying they want to break away from Nigeria. They want to have the country to be reviewed through referendum. The same thing applies to the Yorubas. Establish a proof of life protocol with your loved ones so that if you're taken hostage, your loved one knows specific questions and answer to ask the hostage takers to be sure that you're alive and to rule out if ox. What they're saying here is that nobody pray to be kidnapped. Maybe you have to prepare at home and say to your loved ones, if I get kidnapped, just know that anytime they kidnap me, tell them what food does he like, amala. They will know that you're alive. If they say eba, you are a dead man, you are gone. Don't take these precautions serious. America know something is going on, something is cooking in Nigeria, but they're not going to give you all the key information. They've told you, take note. Let's go back again as Cardoso is trending in Nigeria, as many Nigerians is expecting to see the change that is going to bring on board. Now, let's read some of what we are expecting. As Cardoso be pro-crypto in Nigeria, many Nigerians are operating cryptocurrency. We know Emefiele and Buhari were never interested in crypto. Many of you operate in crypto even for their own security. Do you think that this new administration of Cardoso will be in that same direction? As we have still on the Yoruba nation and the Biafra nation, we asked the President Bola Tinubu to now go and look into why the dead body of Adogon and Alhaji Fatai both were murdered in cold blood during the invasion and assassination attack on Dr. Chief Igbowo's residence at Soka on the 1st of July 2021 by the previous administration. The two bodies were removed at the premises, even though the DSS says these two individuals confronted them. Okay, the question then is, if these two confronted you, why are you still holding on to the bodies? Have they been buried? Because the DSS is aware that the body is still in their custody. We are now asking the present administration under Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to look into this. As I talked about that, I would now come again to the next conversation from the new British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Dr. Richard Montegori. Dr. Richard has resumed office after the previous High Commission left Nigeria. I am now asking, what is he going to do differently when it comes to the issue of Nnamdi Kanu? On the 18th of May, the UK appoint a new High Commissioner to Nigeria known as Dr. Richard Montgomery, CMG. We are now asking, what is the British government doing when it comes to Nnamdi Kanu, a British citizen? Nnamdi Kanu is not a resident. He's a British citizen that was traveling on a British passport to Kenya until he was kidnapped by Yemi Osinbajo, the vice president, and Buhari, the president of the former administration. I have not had much of what engagement Richard Montegori will be doing when it comes to this Nnamdi Kanu's issue. But what we are saying is, Nnamdi Kanu is a British passport holder, and we expect everything to be done under the new UK High Commissioner to Nigeria to make sure that Nnamdi Kanu received justice as a prisoner of conscience. As I leave you with that again, I come back now as we continue to talk about farming. Agbeloba, what do we do? Next week, Wednesday, I'll be bringing again one of our coordinator that is into that particular area. Ètò ààbò tó péye fún iṣẹ́ ọ̀gbìn. We must go into farming. We understand that the insecurity is the reason why tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá ṣe ń sá fún oko. And we don't want to say that because of that, we will not do a little bit of what we can do, even if it's just a very, very small scale. Ó ṣe kókó, ó ṣe pàtàkì pé kí ọmọ Yorùbá think about bójá àgbàdo ni, cassava ni, gbogbo tẹ́ bá lè ṣe, because this administration of Bola Tinubu that even promised 50 million youth into the military, what are they going to be eating? Àgbàdo and cassava. Today, we are still waiting to see how many of these youth will get job under the administration. We understand there is not enough job in Nigeria. The private sector refused to employ many of you. You are well qualified. Any qualification. Any qualification, no. If a set of small businesses. But owó lápò, owó gbọ́mú lantern, by the time you receive it, inflation of Nigeria is not good at the moment. And that inflation is having a big impact. See, the only thing we can advise you is, don't sit back. It does not matter how small. Try to engage yourself in something, but avoid anything crime. Do not try to get yourself into anything crime. It will backfire later on. Don't take this as a joke. More understand. Pressure wà nílé. Kò sẹ́ni kankan tó fẹ́ fún yín lówó tẹ́ fẹ́ fi bẹ̀rẹ̀ business gan. I saw a guy say he actually sold his nude picture so that he can be able to buy a vehicle, I think in 2002. One penny dark man or something like that. Because he's there, talking about the death of Mohbad. And I think one blog actually he released his nude photos. I mean nude video, not photos. And he actually came out. I saw it. I listened to it. Only yes. Oh no, only Cotton film make he was actually selling the nude video of himself for $1,000. That is the extent of what Nigerians can do. Again, he has his life. We cannot query that, and I cannot question that. I know many of you expect the diaspora to support you. There's a lot of inflation around the world as well. The diaspora are struggling. Our diaspora struggle seriously. They are working 14-hour shift, 10-hour shift, many hours just to survive. And the little Toba send is saying, that is the little they can do. If they send it, appreciate it. Don't take it as an offense. The cost of living has gone up. Also, for those of you that want to travel, if you have opportunity to travel, do not hesitate to travel. Nobody can stop you if that is your option to leave Nigeria and do what they call Japa. But remember that Japa and going into another country, you must understand that it will take time. Má lọ compare pẹ̀lú àwọn tó ń gun Mercedes. Má lọ compare rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn tó ń gun Rolls Royce. When you japa wherever country, even to the smallest of Benin Republic, ẹ máa rántí pé that will be different from àwọn tó ti wà níbẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀. Don't go and japa and then believe that ìgbà tó ti délùú yẹn, you will also be buying a car when you don't even have a driver license. I say, I'm on a Nigerian driver license. Well, you might have a Nigerian driver license, but be rest assured that did you tell the insurance that you are going to be using a Nigerian driver license? And like I said, there is no signal yet from the Yoruba world media as I speak to you. They are on standby, but I am aware that the leader of the Yoruba nation will be speaking to us tonight, and that signal will be picked up whether we are still on air on the Star Radio. If it doesn't come up by the time we finish at 8:30 in the next 20 minutes, the other broadcast sister will pick it up. But again, remember, tonight, Professor Banji Akintoye, the Alano, the Oracle, the leader and the only leader of the Yoruba self-determination struggle, have not come out to say is the leader of the Yoruba people. Do not mix that together. Professor Banji Akintoye is the leader of the Yoruba self-determination movement. Under his leadership is what we are doing. Under his leadership is what we are doing that is piloted on his behalf. Under the leadership, we will do exactly what he wants us to do by a peaceful negotiation out of Nigeria. Baba Akintoye is not working with the fraudulent Dupe Onitiri. Baba Akintoye is working with the like-minded Yoruba people that understand what is policy, that understand what it takes, that understand what it means to have a Yoruba country. That is the reason why he brought out a 35-page template. You can see that from the website of koikimedia.com. He actually told us the steps that we can take to exit Nigeria. Those steps is what we are doing presently. Some of you tell sọ pé kí ló dé tí Baba Akintoye ò tí declare Yoruba nation. You don't declare what you cannot hold on to. Èyí tó declare tó pé rẹ̀ ní Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí tó náà ń declare Yoruba nation ní 2022. A year ó máa pé ní November. She is not able to even hold one local government nílẹ̀ Yoruba. I repeat again, Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí, the fraudster 419 tó wá sọ fún wa pé òun ti declare Yoruba nation. Ọ̀rẹ́ tún bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan kan dá kó declare. Ẹ̀mí mímọ́ ti gbóhùn declare. Níbo ló declare sí tí kò tẹ̀lé control local government kan? Ìwọ tó ń gbọ́ wa tó ní wọ́n declare. Nigerian police ló ṣì ń operate ní gbogbo local government. Tó bá ṣẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn tó gbé jáde tí ọlọ́pàá ti kó wọ́n wà ní àgọ́ ọlọ́pàá báyìí tí kò tí gbà wọ́n sílẹ̀. Tí o bá ṣẹ̀ lénìí ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ọlọ́pàá Nàìjíríà ló máa mú ẹ. Kò ń ṣe ọlọ́pàá òmìnira. Àwọn tó kó jáde ní bíi 6 tí wọ́n ná àwọn sójà òmìnira, àwọn tó ń lọ fún intersport ni wọ́n, nítorí pé irọ́ tó ń sọ fún yín pé òun ti gba òmìnira tí ẹ wá ní kí Baba Akintoye kó má declare mọ́, bàbá Akíntóyè ò tí declare Yorùbá nation nítorí pé ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n tó mọ̀ pé tá a bá ti declare, tíyàn bá declare ìlú, ó gbọ́dọ̀ take control ìlú yẹn lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀. Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ pé bó ṣe láti rí nìyẹn. Àmọ́ nítorí pé iṣẹ́ ibi tó ń ṣe, iṣẹ́ inú òkùnkùn tó gbé dání, tó náà òun ti gba Yorùbá nation fáwọn ọmọ Yorùbá lábẹ́ òmìnira. Lákọ̀ọ́kọ́, ó ní gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé kẹ́ lọ máa rẹ́gísítà fún ibi iṣẹ́. Mo ń béèrè pé láti bí ọdún kan nísìn, èèyàn mélòó ló ti ríṣẹ́? Ta ló máa employ yín? Ṣé nínú Nigeria system náà ló máa fi employ yín? Ó náà ti gba òmìnira Yorùbá fún yín gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìlú. Owó wo lẹ fẹ́ máa lò láti fi ṣe ìlú náà? Àbẹ́ rò pé ẹ ní náwó kan sí owó kan? Tí ẹ bá tẹ̀ sọ pé ẹ ní ṣe Nàìjíríà mọ́, ṣèbẹ́ gbọ́dọ̀ ní owó tiyín. Kí ni economic formulation tó fẹ́ gbé jáde? Gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá tó ń bẹ nílé tí wọ́n ti gbọ́ Yorùbá nation, tí wọ́n ń ṣe ìjọba lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn politician wa, ṣé Dúpẹ́ tó náà ń declare tó máa nà wọ́n lẹ́gba ni àbó máa gbá nǹkan mọ́ wọn lórí, tó máa sọ fún Sanwó-Olú pé kó kúrò lórí oyè gẹ́gẹ́ bí gómìnà Èkó, tó máa sọ fún Abdulfatai ìyẹn ti gómìnà Kwara, tó máa sọ fún Yàyà Bello pé èmi ti declare Yorùbá nation nísìn gẹ́gẹ́ bí òmìnira, tó máa ní kó kúrò lórí oyè, tó máa sọ fún Ṣèyí Mákindé pé kó kúrò lórí oyè, tó máa sọ fún Dàpọ̀ Abíọ́dún pé kó kúrò lórí oyè, tó máa sọ fún Akérédolú pé àwa mọ̀ pé ó rẹ̀ díẹ̀ àmọ́ èmi ti gbòmìnira fún yín, ó gbọ́dọ̀ kúrò lórí oyè, tó máa sọ fún Èkìtì pé òun ti wà lórí oyè nísìn, ìyẹn gómìnà tìlú Èkìtì Oyèbánjí, tó máa sọ fún Adélékè tó ṣẹ̀ wọlé ní Ọ̀ṣun state pé kó kúrò, kó Gángbárẹ̀ kúrò. Ẹ gbé yẹ̀wò dáadáa. Lótìtọ́ ó wù wá pé kí Yorùbá nation ti délé ní, àmọ́ ètò ó gbọ́dọ̀ wáyé. Ètò yẹn ni bàbá Akíntóyè ń tò. Gbogbo àwọn àjàkálẹ̀ virus, àwọn tí wọ́n ń pariwo, ariwo lásán ni wọ́n ń pa, ariwo kọ́ ni music. Fìrìgbọ̀n kò ṣílẹ̀kùn, ẹni tó bá ní kọ́kọ́rọ́ ló lè ṣí. Bàbá Akíntóyè ló ní kọ́kọ́rọ́ lọ́wọ́, Ìgbòho Òòṣà ló ní kọ́kọ́rọ́ lọ́wọ́, àwọn ni wọ́n lè ṣí ilẹ̀kùn. Gbogbo fìrìgbọ̀n táwọn ń pariwo, wọ́n bí ìjìnlẹ̀ dá kó kúrò ní Turkey láti lọ sílé láti lọ ṣe tí olóyè Ìgbòho ti ṣe. Mo tún sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, wọ́n tí bí ìjìnlẹ̀ dá àtàwọn tó bí, wọ́n tí bí wọn dá kó jáde kó lọ dán irú nǹkan tí olóyè dán wò. Ìyẹn ní local government ẹ̀ ní o, kò ní láti lọ sí local government míì. Wọ́n tí bí Jimmy Boy dá kó dán wò, Wálé Àlíwọ̀ bí wọn dá kó dán wò. Dán wò ló bí ìyá ọ̀kẹ́rẹ́. Ẹ bá ní ẹ fẹ́ dán wò, ẹ máa dán tán ni, nítorí pé ẹ lè dán tí Ìgbòho dán wò nínú Nàìjíríà. Níwọ̀nba tó ṣe, ó ní rẹ́kọ̀dì tiẹ̀. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń tẹ̀lé òmìnira, ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ ara yín pé inú òmìnira wo lẹ̀ ń tẹ̀lé tọ́nà wọn gba ìjọba fún yín láti ọdún kan, àwọn declare, àmọ́ orí YouTube náà ni gbogbo conversation yẹn mọ sí. Wọ́n bá máa ṣàìsùn ọjọ́ 6, wọ́n tí lè dán wò nǹkan tí Ìgbòho ṣe nílẹ̀ Yorùbá lénìí. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, kò sí kankan tó ń sọ pé wọ́n ti gba ìlú, irọ́ ni ó wà níbẹ̀. Eré ọwọ́ ló ń ṣe. Fìrìgbọ̀n ṣílẹ̀kùn, ẹni bá ní kọ́kọ́rọ́ òun ló lè ṣí. Orí ètò Star Radio UK òun náà la ṣì wà ní aago 9 alẹ́, ó kọjá ìṣẹ́jú 10 díẹ̀ sí ní ètò tèmi ní 27th of September 2023. Wọ́n bí Dúpẹ́ dá ó wá challenge gbogbo tí mo kà sílẹ̀ yìí. Mo ti gbé wá sórí platform yìí rí. Tó bá fẹ́ dán wò, tó fẹ́ dán tán, kó fún wa ní àyè ká wá béèrè lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. Gbogbo ìgbà tẹ́ bá rí, inú òkùnkùn ló ti ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀, torí pé ẹnu ìkùnkùn ni, kò ń ṣe ìmọ́lẹ̀ rárá. Kò bá pe Jésù títí dọ̀la pé ẹ̀mí mímọ́ ló rán òun, ẹ̀mí òkùnkùn ló ń bá Dúpẹ́ ṣe. Ẹ̀mí òkùnkùn tó dẹ̀ ń bá ṣe, òun lẹ̀yìn náà tẹ̀lé. Kò dẹ̀ ń ṣe Dúpẹ́ ló máa kọ́kọ́ ṣe irú ẹ̀. Adolf Hitler ó ṣe jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn ti ṣe jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, tó jẹ́ pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn máa ń tẹ̀lé wọn tó rò pé òtítọ́ ló gbé dání, but irọ́ ló ń bẹ níbẹ̀. Dúpẹ́ kùkùté 2x2, fraudulent omnivirus, virus woman. Mo tún sọ pé Ọláyọmí Koiki lèmi jẹ́, tí gbogbo èèyàn mọ̀ sí Koiki Media, orí ètò Star Radio. Tó rántí pé nígbà tí mo gbé ẹ wá sórí ètò yìí, mo fún ẹ ní access Skype wa tó fi wọlé, ìyẹn Skype tèmi gangan. Ṣó mọ̀ pé location kan náà tó ní ó wà yẹn, inú location yẹn náà ló ṣe wà. Ó tó bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo sọ, láti jáde lọ sí ibi tí a ti máa rí ẹ gangan nítorí pé dánwò ló bí yọ̀kẹ́rẹ́ Ìgbòho ló ní kọ́kọ́rọ́ ó fẹ́ ṣàkóbá fún ni àmọ́ ilé ọba Elédùmarè ó ń protect Ìgbòho. And as we leave that now, I say thank you so much to every one of you that have joined us tonight as we wind down from this part of the globe. My name is Olayomi Koiki Wahab rather. Good evening, Eunice Uchechi, oh hey Biafra, oh hey Biafra. And as I said to you all, thank you so much. I'll be winding down in just 10 minutes. Let me use the next 10 minutes to appreciate every single one of you. Sorry we couldn't take calls. Maybe next week I'm going to take calls. If you have any questions on this program, you want to know about it, you can email info@koikimedia.com or you can get in touch with the Star Radio UK network and I'll be able to tell you more about that as well. Once again, remember that we are here to serve you. We will continue to serve you diligently, and sometimes you might not be pleased with the kind of what you're hearing, especially those of you that still want to keep Nigeria. If you want to truly keep Nigeria, tell the government to pull down the 1999 Constitution, and then we can ask for a referendum to be embedded into that Constitution. Anything less than that, definitely Nigeria will collapse at some point. It might not collapse now, but economic-wise, Nigeria is in a full 2-digit recession. As I'm going to be handing over very soon to my producer, let me say good evening once again to every one of you around the world from wherever you're watching and listening to. Let me quickly now go straight and listen to some of the tweets from some of you on Twitter. Let's go straight to what we called the tweet from African Confidential. This was posted, some few hours ago. I posted this comment in response to a video of an Italian singer, Victor Osimhen, praises earlier this year when he had a European world at his feet. I remember posting something similar on another tweet and getting accused of being racist by some confused Africans. How far today? Never trust these pale-faced devils. The great Robert Mugabe said, best, the only Oyibo man, I don't want to use the English word, I'm sure some of you know the reason why, you can trust is dead Oyibo man. Never get too comfortable with Oyibo man. So that is coming from African Confidential. If you are not on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. Adebola Adeoba West said, Dupe the 419 woman. The real name said, we shall have our own country one day, definitely. Lashe Dumari. Thank you so much once again as we continue to now give you some of the last updates before we go. Let's stay strong. Just as also one of the leader of the Yoruba nation told us. And who is that leader? None but only Oloye Dr. Sunday Igboho. He actually released this short 16 seconds video on Sunday. And this was what he said. Once again, we continue to ask, for Nnamdi Kanu with Tinubu. While Tinubu is the president, he must remember that he's not going to be the president forever. He must do whatever he can to look into the rendition and the kidnap of Nnamdi Kanu. He must also do the same thing with Oloye Dr. Sunday Igboho that was about to be assassinated on the 1st of July 2021. He survived it. He's currently in Benin Republic, and this video was sent out on Sunday.
You can say anything you like about me. Don't care. I'm still strong because God is my creator. But remember, this world is not our home. We will live one day. Thank you.
Well, you heard it there, and let's listen one more time.
You can say anything you like about me. Don't care. I'm still strong because God is my creator. But remember, this world is not our home. We will live one day. Thank you.
Well, we're all going to live one day, and I hope that as we're going to be living one day, you must understand that this world is not for us alone. Tunde Omelele Mukibugweni Gbugbo LCD in Lagos State. We hope that Governor Sanwo-Olu will put infrastructure in place just as he's doing. We will continue to monitor that as well. We pray that every one of you at home, may Nigeria never happen to you. Thank you so much, Mr. Badiru, for the correction there. Thank you so much. We can never Enyodi. So our Yoruba will not be as the kind of Yoruba Sonile, but yes, you're right. We appreciate every comment that comes through as well. As I leave you, I'm not leaving you in debt. I'm not leaving you in illness. I'll be back next week, Wednesday. But again, like I said, you can catch up with me every Wednesday. Let me quickly give you the last, some of the news headlines out of Nigeria. This evening, we'll be following stand-up order, apologize to Yoruba Obas, and Afeni Ferry tells Obasanjo. Well, Obasanjo will never apologize. We know him. He will never apologize. But the Pan-Yoruba Social Political Organization, Afeni Ferry, has condemned the former president Olusegun Obasanjo. That was also a military, as at the time in the 70s. They're never ready to go. They love Nigeria too much that, they think that Nigeria belongs to them. He actually disrespected our kings, by telling them, Edide Ejoko, and that was a, utterly disrespect to the stool. But Obasanjo is known to do a lot of such, but the Afenifere says Obasanjo must now apologize. I'm not sure why he hasn't apologized. Well, maybe you are not aware, after so much tension between the junta in Niger, it seems that Tinubu has forgotten about what is happening in Niger. He has so much on his plate at the moment. That's why we say, being a president is not a joke. Remember that Tinubu was saying that he was going to make sure that under ECOWAS, they can, find solution to the current crisis in Niger. Well, I can confirm to you that the French ambassador to Niger leaves after weeks of tension. Unbelievable. The National Assembly budget has been stagnant for 13 years. This is coming from the Speaker. Let me quickly read that as part of our last headline from the news coming out of Nigeria. According to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has disclosed that the annual budget of the National Assembly has been stagnant for 13 years despite inflation and attendant consequences. The Speaker said that notwithstanding the expenditure of the federal legislature have gone up within the period, they are more concerned about themselves. I can be for real. Thank you so much. Mrs. Elizabeth Adesonya, thank you so much for the love and all the messages as well. Addition Adeyemo Bishop say, Igbowosha, my best regard to you. Shout out to every one of you. I mean, these politicians are more concerned about themselves than you. Well, we hope that most of you will understand that. Okay, I think there's a signal now from the Yoruba world media. We will be coming off on this, and I guess Professor is already live. So let's go and pick up a bit of the signal quickly, even if it's just for the few minutes, and hear what Professor Adebanji Akintoye is saying quickly before we end the program from this side. Let's listen to Professor. I can see that Professor Banji is live. Let's listen to him. Okay, I think they're having audio. All right, we're going to leave that. I'm just going to hand over back to the studio once again. I would like to say thank you so much to every single one of you. We will pick the signal after the program for those of you that will still want to listen to what Baba is saying. And on that note, I say thank you so much to every one of you. And I'll be back next week, God's willing. As I leave you in good hope, and I hope many of your dreams can also come in place as many of you are trying. My name is Olayomi Koiki, and as I say all the time, if it's not the Star Radio UK, it can never be any other platform. Pastor Paul Olalekan, thank you so much. Moki Bubwalen Konsi, Mr. Bayode Agunloye, says that there's no sound. There's no sound where. What the sound from the Babakito is not coming. So I'm just going to leave that. What I'm going to do, we're going to switch things around swiftly for those of you on the Star Radio UK when we might join Babakito. But for now, let me take you away from the Star Radio UK network. I'll be back sometime next week. And on that note, I say thank you so much to every one of you. My name is Olayomi Koiki, and it has been a very fantastic evening. As I say all the time, no retreat, no surrender. Yoruba Nation for life. Yoruba Nation now, now, now. Bye for now.
This is Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK. On your smartphone. Broadcast.